All right, we should be unmuted.
Hi, Carmen, can you hear us? Carmen? Oh, no, she's frozen.
Yeah, she's a little frozen right now.
Hey, Mike, she seems like she's frozen again.
I can be so humble.
Carmen, can you hear us? Who else do we have? Was that,
That was Barb.
sound like Barb? Barb, can you hear us? Barb? Carmen?
I can't, Mayor, I can hear you.
Okay. Turn it down just a little bit. Carmen, can you hear us yet?
Yes, sir. You know what I discovered in all of my Zoom experience and wisdom, I have my laptop volume at like 1. So, just put it on my list of Monday tech issues today. I've had a few of them. I'm good.
Chief, we have a chair for you up here.
I don't mind back here either. But I'll certainly follow the rules. Whatever those are.
Can everyone online hear us right now? Barb, can you hear us?
Barb, Carmen, can you hear us?
Yes, now I can.
Yes,
Okay.
sir. Carmen, I'm good to go.
All right.
Everyone, I spotlighted the council, so I can take that off when people are talking as well.
Mayor, would you like me somewhere?
Chief, we usually have you sit over there next to Public Works.
Okay.
Yeah, sit by John.
Yeah,
John.
yeah, you're in between the two Johns.
Kind of like two friends.
Andy, are you on? Andy?
Andy's here, yes.
Andy is here. Can you hear us?
Yes, I
Andy?
am. Yes, I am. I can hear you.
Okay, good, good. All right, it is, I'll wait another half a minute. All right, it's 7 o'clock, June 14th. This is a regular city council meeting for Idaho Springs. This is our first meeting back together in person. It's happy to see everybody in person and being able to start trying to get back to a little normalcy in their life. So with that, can I have roll call, please?
Michael Hillman.
Here.
Scott Pennell.
Here.
Jack Harmon.
Yeah,
Bill Bolin.
Here.
John Curtis.
Here.
Art Cacavelli.
Here.
Jim Clark.
Here.
All right, please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Where's the
Where's the flag?
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. And everybody was kind of together on this one, on the Zoom, everybody was off.
I missed that flag that John was put up on the screen.
Okay, we have an agenda in front of us. Does anybody have any questions about it before we go for approval? I have a motion.
I move to approve the agenda for June 14th, 2021 meeting.
And do we have a second?
Second,
Motion is second. Discussion.
I would like to add one of my very brief history lessons
Just
from Aaron
from
County,
all right.
a minute or so.
Okay, I gotcha. Okay, without any other discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We didn't have to raise our hand and say aye either.
Here.
All right, we'll move down. Does anybody on council tonight feel they have a conflict of interest? Okay. We'll move to the approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the minutes from May 24th, 2021.
And a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Discussion. Did we find anything that was maybe not true and correct or we need to fix? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we will move to the bills. Do you have a motion?
I'd move to approve the bills to June 14th, 2021.
Do I have a second? Motion is second. And since our have a second, discussion.
The page one, sir, the 210,256 for the DOKFNA.
That's our bond for our street bonds.
Gotcha.
Payment.
I thought there was a bond DOBO, but
Yeah, I think
Okay.
that might be a quarterly. We'd have to check that, but I think it's quarterly payment.
is that correct?
That looks about right.
Well, yeah, perfect. I think it's all I had.
Okay, anybody else? Give everybody another minute to look through.
Browse through, I think I'm good.
Okay, roll call, please.
Michael Hillman.
Yes.
Scott Pennell.
Yes.
Chuck Harmon,
Yes.
Bob Baldwin,
Yes.
John Curtis.
Yes.
Art Cacavelli,
Yes.
Jim Clark.
Yes.
All right, John, do we have Congressman Nagus on to speak with us?
Yes, sir. Congressman Nagus, I'm gonna spotlight you here.
Hello, good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, how you doing, Joe? It's good to see you.
Great, I'm doing well. Mr. Mayor. It's good to see you. I wish that I was back there in person in Clear Creek. I'm here in Washington today as we're trying to do the people's work, but nonetheless, I appreciate your indulgence and giving me the opportunity to come by and say a few words and just share some updates about what's happening in Washington. And of course, happy to answer any questions that you all might have. Suffice to say, it's been a very busy first few months here in 2021. We're of course all very excited that we finally have COVID-19 here in our rear view and see some light at the end of the tunnel regarding the pandemic. And we've been working very hard in the Congress to try to do our part in ensuring that there's a robust economic recovery that extends to all Coloradans, including everybody in Clear Creek and Idaho Springs. One thing that we worked on pretty aggressively was trying to secure funding for smaller cities and counties that were left out in the prior rescue packages that were approved by the United States Congress last year in the CARES Act. It took us a little longer than we had hoped, but nonetheless, we were able to ensure that that was part of the American Rescue Plan. And I know that the city of Idaho Springs will receive a little under $400,000. And so we're certainly hopeful that that will help in your efforts to stabilize your community. And of course, happy to be a resource in that regard as you all make your decisions about how best to spend those resources. The American Rescue Plan, I'm sure you all are well aware of all the different components to that plan, but it was comprehensive in scope and I believe has put our country on a good footing in terms of now finally being able to crush this virus for good, getting folks vaccinated, scaling up the vaccination distributions, and ultimately, as I said, making sure that we're back on track for a robust economic recovery. But we're also not, taking for granted the necessity to do more to help address some of the consequential challenges that we face. And now the Congress has turned its focus to infrastructure, which is at the top of our agenda list here in DC. My hope is that we'll get an infrastructure bill done by the end of this year. It certainly would inure to the benefit of your community. I know that there are a myriad of transportation projects that you all are very engaged and passionate about, from Floyd Hill to broader improvements on I-70. We're excited that at least a few projects were specifically included within the infrastructure bill that's making its way through Congress, including some improvements over to the Eisenhower Tunnel. But we're also very optimistic that the funding that will be in the bill will be robust enough that ultimately CDOT will be able to then distribute those dollars to projects that are on their prioritization schedule. And of course, many of the projects that I just mentioned that are very important to all of you are on that schedule. So we're hopeful. We're going to keep pushing. I hope that it'll be done by the end of the summer and that we can get a bill to the president's desk. But I'll certainly have more to share with you all in the months ahead on that front. We also, I'd be remiss if I didn't say just a thank you. Those of you who helped with the submission of a specific community project that requested federal funding, the Clear Creek County Collaborative Health Center, which I know you all were looking for bridge funding to the tune of $1 million. We're optimistic that we're going to be able to get that done. We'll know more by the end of July as the appropriations bill moves its way through Congress, but certainly an exciting development. And we want to make sure that Clear Creek and Idaho Springs gets its fair share as we embark on that budget process. Finally, as some of you may know, I chair the Public Lands Subcommittee in the Congress. Our district is over 52% public lands, including some of the most iconic places in our state. And of course, that includes Clear Creek. And we're working really hard this year to try to scale up funding, plus up various accounts within the Forest Service to address the real need for reforestation, wildfire resiliency, mitigation, trying to get some of those fuels out of the forests in Arapahoe Roosevelt, which of course impacts you all more acutely, and White River a little bit west of you all as well. And so I certainly look forward to being a partner with you all in those efforts. And it's nice to be able to be making some headway in that regard. And I think folks are finally starting to get the message after the 2 terrible, well, 5 wildfires that our state, our community, our district experienced last year, but in particular, the 2 mega fires, the Cameron Peak Fire and the East Troublesome Fire. I think folks are starting to realize that we've got to get serious about addressing these issues, to say nothing of the other, many issues that I know you all have in terms of overuse of our national forests and, trailhead maintenance and the rest. So happy to answer any questions you all might have, but most importantly, just wanted to come by to say thank you for all the work that you're doing as local leaders leading our community at such a critical time. And I'm very appreciative and grateful for the work that you all do. Some folks say that it's hard to serve in Congress, but I think the toughest job has to be mayor, and then a close second is being on a town council, because the issues that you all address on a day-to-day basis are so incredibly important to the community that you represent. So happy to take a question or two, but most of all, just want to say I hope you'll reach out to me so that we can be a resource and a partner on any projects that you all would like our assistance with.
Thank you, Congressman. Council, anybody, Chief, John, anybody have any questions?
I just want to thank you for your,
Introduce yourself.
I'm Charles Harmon here on council, and I just want to thank you for your recent, and I know it's been difficult, your bipartisan work on antitrust. And that's always a tough one on both sides of the aisle. And I thought you showed some real leadership there, and the fact that it was bipartisan made it all the sweeter. So thank you.
Well, thank you. I represent, over 30 cities across the district, from Vail to Grand Lake to Boulder to Fort Collins to Breckenridge to Idaho Springs, and you are the first city councilor to mention the antitrust portfolio. So I thank you for following it. And yet, Representative Buck and I have worked really well together on that. We're actually having a big event tomorrow to push this package of reforms through that are bipartisan in nature, as you mentioned. So hopefully we can build on that.
Anybody else?
Thank you. It's nice to hear from you.
Yep, and Joe, I'd like to thank you also, the updates that you were giving us on Saturdays through the course of the pandemic, that we were able to tune in, and you keeping us updating on the work that you were doing on the Hill. And I just can't thank you enough for the, working on and getting the CARES funds in play. I know, and I'm a perfect example of small businesses that survive because of it. So I want to thank you for that and all your hard work. And we know you're going to continue to do that. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you to all the town councilors. And you certainly have our partnership. And just please don't hesitate to let us know how we. And I look forward to seeing all of you in person, this summer. I'll be back in Idaho Springs soon. So.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks again.
Okay, unscheduled public comments?
None.
None? All right, liquor, planning, city attorney. Okay, we'll move down to our resolutions of public hearing. So at this time, we're going to go into a public hearing. This hearing will come to order. This is a continuation of a public hearing from May 10th, 2021 before the City Council of the Idaho Springs to take testimony for consideration to approve resolution number 8, series 2021. A resolution conditionally approving a final development plan on property known as 1628 Virginia Street, Idaho Springs, Colorado, for a residential townhome project. The order of the public hearing will be as follows. We'll hear the applicant testimony. We'll take public comment, and we'll also take any staff comments that we'll have. So this hearing is now declared open, and it is 7:12. So we will hear from the applicant testimony with Mike Davenport.
Okay, I'm providing testimony for staff in terms of review of the application. At your meeting on the 10th, the City Council passed a motion to obtain additional information regarding shading as it relates to icing of roads and public safety. And rather than repeat the information that was provided at the last hearing. What I'm going to do is just focus on the specific question or motion that was made by City Council. I think one of the questions is regarding the shading. There actually is no requirement in Chapter 21, the land development regulations, that actually requires an applicant to address shading. In Chapter 21, there is a reference several times to what are called shadow lines. And those shadow lines have to do with the appearance of a building, where if you have different parts of the building stick out further than other parts, it creates shadows on the face of the building. But the term shadow lines doesn't refer to the casting of a shadow on the ground or onto an adjacent building. Now, looking at the issues that have been brought up, is there's really two separate items here. One is the safety and the other one is the application. First, with respect to the existing streets, the section of 17th Avenue that slopes up steeply from the intersection, I'm sorry, 16th Avenue, the slope of the existing road is about 20% slope, which you'll find in the mountains, but it's not sort of a typical city standard. The city's own standards and the standards and specifications for design and construction, if it was a new road, states that a maximum grade or slope for a new road should be 7%. So this section of road is about 3 times as steep as would be required for a new road. Now, this existing situation with the steep grade is not a situation that's created by this project. This is a pre-existing conditions. Also, with respect to traffic on the road, the proposed development will actually generate very little traffic, and I'll come back to that later. But the traffic impact analysis that was required and was reviewed by the city's consulting engineer showed the maximum amount of traffic that would be generated this project based on the standards that the city uses is only about 5 vehicles at rush hour. Now, if the concern is vehicles coming into the traffic that might be crossing each other, one of the things that could be done, and this would be up to City Council, would be to change the street from being one-way south to one-way north. In that event, any traffic that was driving to the project or from the project would never cross the path of traffic that is coming down the hill from Wall Street. But that's not something the applicant would be able to do. That's something that the city could do if it chose to do. Also, with respect to the shading caused by the project, the proposed habitat duplexes are approximately 35 feet high. Now, under the city's zoning regulations in Chapter 21, the building could actually be higher than that because of the way the city measures the height of the building. So it could probably be about another 4 feet higher, but the way it's measured in the code, it measures to the midpoint of the roof and not to the ridge line. So it actually could be taller, but the existing building does not exceed 35 height limit to the very highest point. The Elks Lodge to the south, for comparison, at its highest point, which is in the center part of the building, is approximately 42 feet high. And that's according to a study that was done of the Elks Lodge in 2014, 2015. Now, in the staff report, there is an aerial photograph that shows the intersection, shows the habitat property with the trailers that used to be on the site, and shows the Elks Lodge next to the intersection. Now, one thing to keep in mind here is that most of the conversation has been about what happens at the intersection. And the situation is that any time of the year that would have ice on the road, this project would not cast any shadow into the intersection because over the course of the year, the sun moves from being above, it slowly drops to a lower elevation or a lower horizon as you get towards December 21st. So because this property is actually north of the intersection, it would actually not create any ice in the intersection. At early times of day, it could create shadowing on the 16th Avenue going up, but it actually can't create shadows on the intersection because it is to the north of the intersection. And I think that's an introduction. I'll mention one other thing. In your packet, there is a letter that was submitted last week by an individual with a number of first names listed at the bottom. It lists a number of points, so I just mentioned that to you. If you have questions regarding that, I can answer those, but I have reviewed those comments that were submitted by the individual. But for now, this is the staff report.
All right. Now what I'd like to do, we have members of the community that have signed up for public testimony. I'd like to go ahead and do that. Each of you will be sworn in by our city clerk before you give your testimony. Do we have Rick Scott?
He is here. Mr. Scott, you're muted if you're listening.
Rick, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
We're gonna have
Can you hear me?
Yes, we're gonna have you raise your hand, your right hand,
Yeah, yes.
and Diane's gonna swear you in.
Do you
Okay,
swear-
thank you.
You swear the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, Rick, you got, we're gonna give you up to 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. The intersection at 16th Virginia is what worries me. It's already one of the most, if not the most dangerous intersection in Idaho Springs. And if this project goes through, it will only add factors into that. The dangers would only increase. You're taking a dangerous situation and making it extremely dangerous. I don't think Habitat was fully aware of this elephant in the room. I don't know if it was ever addressed in their original plans. Once any structure is built on this site, 16th Avenue between Wall Street and Virginia can never be fixed properly. The only way to do it is to reroute it toward the east and 17th and Virginia, right through the proposed Habitat property. If this project is built, it's not a matter of if someone gets seriously injured, but when. If you approve this project, you know, the injuries will be on your hands and the city will probably be somewhat liable because our vision of westbound traffic will be blocked by the buildings itself. When it's slick out, we'll have to send somebody down to this intersection because we won't be able to see westbound traffic coming down Virginia from 17th. We'll have to send somebody down to give us the all clear. I know you just addressed that in a way that that's fine. And just last winter, I slid 3 times. I slid all the way into Colorado Boulevard. I couldn't stop. Now it will become a blind intersection. It's like a toboggan run in the winter. My 2 daughters need affordable housing. They're born and raised here and each has a child. I asked them not to apply for the housing here due to the fact that I don't want my grandchildren injured. There's no place for these children to run around and play except the street. Bicyclists and motorists alike, don't stop and look at this intersection. There's near misses constantly. I brought up this dangerous intersection over 1.5 years ago. Has anyone addressed it? Council, Habitat, it's not going away. Due to the steep grade, it's even hard to stop in the summer months due to the loose gravel. In many instances, it takes a serious injury or a loss of life before changes are made to correct a dangerous situation. In this particular case, we have the opportunity to not only prevent a tragedy before it occurs, but to remedy the dangers that exist by reconfiguring 16th toward the east. These are serious life-threatening concerns, and anything that adds children and traffic to this intersection is blatantly dangerous and inconceivable. My suggestion is to turn this property into a parking lot, closing off Virginia Street between 16th and 17th,
reconfiguring 16th toward the east, and then enter and exit the parking lot from 17th, adding about 40 parking spots to this area that we are lost in the I-70 parking place back behind the Buffalo and Wojo's. This way we will put steps down from Wall Street to Virginia, and the parking lot will help pay for the much needed improvements to 16th Street. This parking lot will also replace the parking spots like I just said. By the way, okay, then on behalf of the citizens affected here, please do the right thing and do not let this project be approved. It's dangerous, underplanned, and inconsiderate to the children and all impacted homeowners. And no matter if it's legal or not, the question is it the right thing to do? There's beautiful views of homes that are affected here. Their views will be affected and their value of their homes was increased because of the view. Please don't take their view away. And then one last thing, everybody wants to know why the parking spot stripes weren't angled instead of straight behind the Buffalo and the Bojo's. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. All right, our next person, Walter Cass, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay,
Can
Walter, raise your hand or can get you sworn in real quick.
Okay.
You swear the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
All right, go right ahead, Mr. Cass.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to speak in front of the council and the neighbors. My concern is that the selected area behind the Elks Club will make this one of the densest areas in the city. Over the last several months, the traffic on Saturdays has been reminiscent of the traffic patterns that I see on 4th of July. Rick can validate that cars are constantly trolling for public parking. There was a constant stream of vehicles searching for parking in these areas. This last Saturday, if we would have had a camera up there, you would have seen all those cars turn up by the Elks, make U-turns dangerously in that road, and try to get back and find some sort of hidden parking for that particular area. The timeline to me just seemed like it was escalated without a mindfulness for the impacted community. I understand that Mike had discussed some of the site assessment and comments from the community, but they did not involve any of my neighbors on Wall Street or myself. Technically, Mike's right. He makes good points, but his analysis to me is devoid of the impacted neighborhood. Mike, how often do you visit that area? Even walking down it is really dangerous. A lot of the cars are struggling to try to keep on the roads. The point that Rick brings up about the safety factor, I think is really important to consider. And if you were to change the traffic patterns, I don't know if I heard you correctly, but would you change that Virginia Street to a one-way heading east to try to augment some of these problems? Or is that just something that maybe I misheard earlier? But I think if you did, there are certain things that we would like to know that are going to happen, because once that building is made, it's too late. So we just want to try to find a mindful solution that respects everybody's opinion and makes Idaho Springs a better place, because I think that everybody has the right heart. All of us want to see affordable housing for people, but at this point in time, I just don't know that the way it's set up right now, it just seems like it's a real quick, fast solution. And I was real concerned about the timeline. And I just think maybe there's no real hurry to get this thing across the finish line without taking into consideration some of these factors. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Cass. Okay, next will be Michael Kassenbaum. Are you there, Michael?
He's muted.
You're muted, Mr. Kassenbaum.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Thank you. You should hear me now.
Yes.
Hello.
If you'll raise your hand and be sworn in by our city clerk, please.
You swear the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Thank you.
Right ahead.
I'm surprised at something, and I'm very new to this process, and I'm a first-time homeowner. I bought the land on Wall Street a year ago, year and a half, and I heard Rick I met Rick actually in a meeting for Habitat where he was very strongly vocalizing his concerns. And he lives there. And so he knows them better than any of us. When I visited Rick, I'm a rock climber. And when I visited Rick, I tripped down that road. So I kind of had the experience that Rick was speaking about. And it wasn't winter and it wasn't icy. The letter that I was a part of writing is about at least 15 neighbors, all sharing their concerns to me, and to Reba and to Rick and to Vicky. And so we created that letter that hopefully you've read. So I don't want to go over any of that stuff again, but I want to say something that's surprising to me. I've worked with Habitat and I love Habitat. From what I know of Kathleen and Molly, they are super heart-centered people. I'm surprised that the people like Rick and all the people that wrote that letter don't seem to be listened to at all. And also what surprises me is a few weeks ago, the city council asked for a shade report. And there's kind of no shade report. There's some talk about this or that and more reasons not to have a shade report, but there's actually no shade report, which is what the council seemed to have asked for. So I don't kind of get it. And I think what Scott just said is critical, to take a pause and to look at these issues properly. I don't really understand. And I'm all for this project. That's what's funny. I was telling everybody who I was talking to, let's come up with a way to be favorable. Let's come up with a way to say yes to this. But I mean, why do you have to build 35 feet high? Why? Why not build 28 or 30 so that you don't obscure views, so that you don't shade? Why is it so important to have 12-foot ceilings or 10-foot ceilings? I actually don't get it. Why not just build something that everyone can get behind? My time is probably over. So that's all I have to say. Why not just listen to the community?
Thank you, Mr. Kassenbaum. Next, we have Reba Bechtel. Reba, are you there?
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Hi, Reba. If you'll raise your hand, we're going to get you sworn in.
Do you swear the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, Reba.
So I agree with the other comments that have been made. I wanted to add that from the beginning, my biggest concern has been the amount of units built on that very small postage stamp property. And I think if they were to downsize that amount of units, they could meet all of the issues that have been raised. It would also reduce the impact to 16th and Virginia. And even if there's not actual shading on the intersection of 16th and Virginia, as Mr. Davenport was stating, there is shading on 16th, even if it's further up, creating an icy spot. It doesn't mean that it's the right thing to do to build this project. That's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Reba. Next, we have Janelle and Adam Webb. Are you there, Mr. and Mrs. Webb? Are they on, John?
I don't believe so.
Okay, we will move to, next will be Vicki Larson. Vicki, are you there?
I am.
Hi, Vicki. If you'll raise your hand and get sworn in by Diane, please.
Do you swear the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thanks.
All right, thank you, Vicki. Go right ahead.
Thank you for your time this evening, Mayor and Council. I have followed this project from the very beginning when Habitat first made its presentation. I attended meetings at the variance and the planning public comment meetings to ask questions and to express concerns. And from the beginning, I have felt like this project had a green light for the enthusiasm for affordable housing without really a true consideration of the density with which it is being built, area of town which is already very dense with the proximity to downtown and all of that impact that happens there. And we seem to have made concessions via the variance for setback and with parking to allow compact parking in order to meet the parking requirements we have for such buildings. And it seems to me like we're willing to do anything to make this project go forward as Habitat would like it. In fact, I may be misunderstood, but I believe we waived some fees for this developer so this project could go forward because it is a charitable organization. So I too have walked up 17 toward Wall Street and have experienced that 20% grade myself on foot in the summer, and it's treacherous. So even with the idea of moving a one-way street from eastbound between 16 and 17, my business and home is on the corner of 17 and Colorado. 17 is a one-way street there. And I can tell you in any given day, Monday through Sunday, 7 days, no less than 5 cars a day go the wrong way on 17th Street. So imagine, even though it's one way marked going east between 17 and 16 on Virginia, just a few cars going the wrong way continues to make that a dangerous intersection. So we have put our trust in you through our votes and through our comments to make the best decision, not only for this needed development for affordable housing, but also for the safety of our community. And I trust that you will do that. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you, Vicki. Next we have Christina Winky or Winky. Christina, are you there?
Council, I'm here.
Okay, if you raise your hand, we'll get you sworn in, please.
All right.
Do you swear the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Go right ahead, Christina.
So first off, I am a beautiful product of what subsidy and community housing and a lot of other welfare programs offer. I'm not currently on one of those programs, but I was raised that way. And so I have a huge compassion and space in my heart for projects like this. But with that being said, I am a first-time home owner, and I bought my home in Idaho Springs after seeing the community and being part of the community and working at the Frothy Cup and knowing that this was kind of the place that I wanted to be. With the amount of space that there is in the proposed project, that kind of takes away everything that I bought my house for, the quality of life that I was searching for. Just the fact that it'll be a dangerous intersection prevents me from wanting to go into my community and come back to my home. Just even with the image in my mind of what this will be in the future, I'm up late at night thinking, oh my God, am I gonna hit a child in this intersection? This is a nightmare for me to think about leaving my house to go and get groceries and the possibility that there would be a child riding their bike quickly through a blind, doesn't even have to be icy intersection, and me running into them. That, I mean, to put that pressure on any of you guys, it would be unheard of. To put that pressure on me, it's almost numbing. I've been up at night, multiple nights, just thinking about the impact of what that would be. I sit up in my property, I'm directly behind the proposed build, and I see kids playing tag in that intersection. I see old ladies moving from the Elks Lodge to their cars. These are all prime suspects that I could hit with my vehicle on any given day because I can't see from my property down to that intersection if there's 31 feet of building in front of me. Not to mention any ice. You have to really consider it would be a neglect to the public safety and a neglect to me as a citizen and a homeowner in this community if this project was passed without really considering this intersection. Regardless of any of the other issues surrounding it, the safety, even if there's not sun on that intersection in the winter for days at a time, it can stay very, very overcast. That intersection does get ice. So with the building there with ice on buildup on the hill and then into the intersection, it would be neglect and it would be all on your guys', this is your council, you're running it for this time period, but this is my home and I'm going to be here for years after you're gone. So please consider this neighborhood and consider the development plans. I'm all for workforce housing, for subsidized housing, for community housing, but there needs to be a safe resolution for everybody involved. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Christina, for your comments. Next, we have Catherine Foy. Catherine, are you there?
I'm here.
Hi, Catherine.
How are you?
And we'll get you sworn in.
Do you swear the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do. Okay. I am here tonight to speak on behalf of myself as a community member for the Habitat for Humanity project. I am a teacher here in the community, and I have seen teachers come and go from this community because their search for housing was way less than fruitful, and they were unable to find adequate housing up here that they could afford. We do need subsidized, affordable housing in this community. Some of the other housing that has been going up, and I know some housing has been promised to be set aside for teachers, is not affordable for many of our younger teachers trying to break into the community. I feel that Habitat for Humanity gives people an opportunity to participate in the American dream, to have ownership in the communities in which they live in, so that they develop those strong ties in the community. Renters often come and often go, but that ownership really allows you to be a part of the community. So I am speaking in favor of the Habitat for Humanity project. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Catherine. All right, I think that is all we had on our list of comments for tonight from our community. And at this time, I'm going to allow Mike Davenport. Is there anything that you need to clarify for us before we come out of the hearing?
Mayor,
Yes, Carmen.
Either before or after you give Mr. Davenport that opportunity, you should check in with the applicant as well before you close the hearing, sir.
Okay, thank you, Carmen. Well, let's do that for Mr. Davenport. Catherine, do y'all have any, or Kathleen?
Yeah.
Kathleen?
Can I take this off?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Molly Wheelock was going to testify on our behalf.
Ms. Wheelock, you have the ability to share your screen and you are able to speak whenever you're.
Great, thank you. Thank you, everybody, and thank you to the presenters. I kind of wanted to just start with, this is a hard, oh, sorry. Yes, I need to be sworn in.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Molly. Raise your hand, let's get you sworn in, please.
Do you swear the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
It is. I wanted to start with that. This is a pretty hard hearing for me to sit through. Excuse me. I'm a hometown girl and I don't live in Idaho Springs anymore, but I'm doing this project with Habitat because Idaho Springs is really close to my heart. So I grew up 2 blocks from this project. I used to live on 15th and Virginia as well, just a few years ago. I'm quite familiar with the street. I've slid down Wall Street, and I do respect how dangerous the street is and is today. At the same time, workforce housing is important to me. I too, Christina, grew up with some subsidies and welfare, and feel really lucky to have grown up in Idaho Springs. It's a beautiful community, and I hope that a lot of other homeowners, community members get that opportunity to stay as things are changing, and I know they are. This property is a really difficult property. Yes, we are trying to maximize the number of homes that we can provide. At the same time, when we first bought this, when Habitat bought this property, originally we were looking at the possibility of 12 units here, which is what it was plotted for. Obviously, that's not reasonable. So we went to 9, and after hearing testimony from the community, we went down to 8. At this time, I'm going to share the aerial photo that we've discussed here. Can everyone see my screen? I don't know if you guys are, how it's working in the town hall there, but so I've over.
Ollie, do you have a way to expand it out a little bit?
Let's see, I'm not sure. This is as big as it goes on my screen here. So it might be on your end, it might need to get expanded. Let me see if I can zoom into the area here. So. Can everyone see that?
That's better, yes. Thank you.
Great. So I've highlighted the Elks Lodge here. Here are the eight units. We have Scott's property. We have Christina's property. I want you to know that we are considering your views. We are trying to take these things into consideration. And I hear you that it doesn't feel that way. I hear that it's still, you're not going to not see these houses. You will see them, but we are working within the guidelines of the community, the ordinances that have been set up, and these are actually really compact houses. We're trying to be really efficient with them, and I just wanted to also, there are blocks that do have this density. Like I said, I used to live on 15th in Virginia over here. And, excuse me, this area right over here has 9 homes on this block. Full-sized homes, single family. So this is a smaller, narrower lot, and we are proposing smaller, narrower homes. And at the same time, we are managing to get all of that parking off the street, which is not common, as most of you know, along Virginia Street in this section. It's pretty challenging. So I'm gonna go to another image that we created today to try to illustrate our vision. So this is a picture taken today at the intersection. This is our development proposed, Elks Lodge next door. We have 8-foot plate heights. That means our ceilings are 8 feet. You can see how close that window is. We're trying to manage snow loads and protect doorways and protect vehicles and get those vehicles off of the street. Yes, some will be close to the street, but this is still actually out of the roadway, which is not possible for many of the other residents along Virginia Street. So I want you to understand that we do hear that. We are working to get as much of the parking out of the road to deal with the existing issues along Virginia Street and on 16th. Let's see, what else can we, I really want to address these concerns that we heard. So I hope that most of the commenters have seen the document that we put together. I think they did. And included in that document are a couple of views. So I hope that you can see these. Are these somewhat visible to the city council there? So this is the view looking from Mr. Cass's home. So yes, you will see these homes. They'll be looking about like looking across at a 2-story home that's lower than you are. You won't see the Elks Club, but it'll be about the same height as the Elks Club. You won't see downtown to the east, but you will still see up the valley to the mountains, to Chief. You'll see all of that range still. Below, this is Christine's home view. And as you can see, you're looking across at 1-story homes, the equivalent of 1-story homes. This is actually the height right here of the road. And Christine's home actually sits even a little bit higher than that. We've also located because she is the closest in proximity, we've located the lower homes. So these homes are actually at a lower height than the 3-bedroom story homes here. I know I'm not giving the full presentation. I think most of you have heard it a couple times over, if not more than that. And Mike's given a pretty good presentation, but I hope that helps to convey, what this project means to us, what the community means to us, what all of you mean to us, and that the issue of 16th Street and of the intersection at Virginia is real. It absolutely is. And it needs to be addressed by the city. And I would ask that the city council ask themselves, how to move forward from here with the responsibility of the city to manage that intersection as they can. Obviously, none of us here in this meeting designed a 20% grade road. We're just all having to live with it now. So I hope that was acceptable, a little bit different presentation than I've given before. But thank you for listening to me this time. And I am listening to you.
All right, thank you, Molly. Any other discussion or comments from Habitat? Okay. Mr. Davenport, do you have anything else to follow up on?
Yes, just a few points to mention, and I think starting with when staff gets an application like this, and the criteria for approval for this kind of application is, does it comply with the regulations? So in reviewing it, taking into account they applied for variance and were approved for variances, is that the project does otherwise meet all the standards, which again, the standards are what make the criteria for approval. Does it meet the standards? And that many of the items that have been brought up, or concerns that have been brought up, those are items that are actually beyond the control of an applicant. For example, acquiring private property, building a road that goes down a block further. Those are things that the applicant can't do. Those are things, that kind of thing can be done by the city if it were to choose to do so. But in the letter that was received last week, a number of the items that were listed, they're not code requirements. And so the staff, in terms of reviewing an application, it can't say you have to comply with something that actually isn't a requirement. We have to go with what's actually listed in the code. And the review we made in terms of, say, like issue of density, is that the city doesn't actually directly regulate density. It regulates it indirectly through other things, such as, does it meet the open space requirement, which it does? Does it have enough parking, which it does? It has additional parking. That was a requirement of one of the variances. Does it have the required amount of open space? It does. There's a 50% requirement on the property. So going back to the criteria, or what is the decision based upon, staff recommended approval because the project does comply with the standards. And although these are good points raised by the neighbors, a number of them are just beyond what a developer would be required to do or could do. And that's my comments, unless you have any questions for you.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Appreciate that. Okay, we are going to go ahead. It is now 7:55, and we are going to close this hearing, and we're going to go in for council discussion. Council? Comments, thoughts?
I'd like to start. First of all, I'd like to compliment all the residents for putting together a very precise, professional, and factual presentation. And I'll go backwards. Talk about density, talk about codes, talk about that because they meet the requirement that that's what you have to do. I understand that. I think when we're putting in homes or we're doing any changes in a city like this, we have to go beyond the strict lines of codes that may have not been written well, ordinances that may not have taken in all the considerations they should have when they were written because we were not looking, or prior councils were not looking at expansion. It was a little mountain town and everybody was happy with it. And I believe in the last, 10 years, maybe 8 years, Mike can answer that better. It's gotten a little more sophisticated. So now we're taking the opportunity to look at all these things. And I think we, as a city, have to go back and start looking at some of these codes, but that's another subject. I don't believe that we are considering as a council, because of the strict codes and what have you, the actual fact of the safety that the residents have brought up. And I think that's important. I think we're not talking about the quality of life that the city has, which the codes don't address. I don't think we're talking about the citizens who are here in those homes, the homes that have history. I was glad to put the picture up of what the new homes are going to look like. They look like homes anywhere in this state. I've traveled a lot of cities. They're just, they don't fit the design or the architecture of a mountain town like we have, of the history that we have. And it's hard for me to talk against the Habitat because they have such a good reputation. But I think we have to consider the residents who have a great reputation, who have been in this town for I don't know how many years, some of them, and some of them not so, and what we're doing to their lives. I think we have to go beyond just a code that says A, B, and C. I think we have to look at D, E, and F. And I think we have to be open-minded to what we're doing to the reputation of this town, to the environment of this town, and where we're going. Like I say, the Habitat, I have a very high regard for them. Always have. I'm not sure about all the financial. I'm not enlightened with all the financial workings of how people buy the houses. They get a break, how long they have to keep the houses. That's another subject I need to look at as an individual. And we talk about density. That's a compact area. This is a compact city. It doesn't take many more people, as we know on the weekends, even more so than on the weekends, that the density of this town increases beyond, my favorite word, the capacity that we can handle. And I think capacities are important. And I think we've got this project going. We got another project in line. You guys know more about how many more are coming. And I think we have to take each one individually and scrutinize it very carefully. And I believe that, once again, the residents presented a case that I think we have to listen to. And I believe that their case outweighs the case of the Habitat project. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Art. Anybody else like to weigh in? John?
Yeah, I wish I had a better conceptual drawing to look at, so to see what we're really dealing with. And you talked about open space or green space. I didn't see any yards or anything. It just looks like the whole lot's full of buildings from what I can ascertain of what I have to read. So they're saying it meets code for green space. I don't know what the code for green space is. I thought it was 10% or something like that.
Well, as Mr. Davenport stated that it met the requirements.
Yeah, I know that, but yeah, it just seemed like without a good,
I just wanted to know, Molly asked if she could share her screen of the drawings again.
you take your mask off, I can't.
Okay, Molly asked if she could share her screen of the drawings again.
Sure. Well, let me ask Carmen, is that okay, Carmen? Can we ask for those drawings to come back up?
Mr. Mayor, because you already accepted those during the hearing, yes, you may. Just like if you were looking at, right, physical pieces of paper that were in front of you, you can look at them. At this point, the hearing is closed, but you've already received them. So continue to talk amongst yourselves about the substance of those drawings, but you may look at them again. You bet.
Okay.
Ms. Wheelock, if you want to share your screen, you're able.
Allowed for her to discuss them though.
Right.
Yeah. It's just our discussion.
Right, yeah.
Right.
Is that?
Can we do that? Okay, so where's the yard, where's the green space? I don't, in between the houses, is that what they're counting as a green space?
Mike, will you elaborate on that, please?
Mayor,
Yes.
if council is wanting and seeking more input and testimony, I suggest that you as a council, you can make that choice to reopen the hearing if you want more testimony from Mike or anybody. If you do so, just know that after you do accept additional testimony, if it's from anybody other than the applicant, please then do give the applicant the opportunity to address anything that anybody else says, as you would during the hearing, sir. So that's your choice. If council really wants some more information, if Councilor Curtis or anybody else has not had all their factual questions answered, maybe you need to reopen the hearing and get a little more information.
I didn't think we were supposed to ask questions during the.
Oh, we can during the hearing, yes. We can have them, they can provide that information.
Whatever the rest of the council is, I don't have to do it on my account, because I have a couple other questions.
Does council like this have?
Yes, I'm willing to accept Mike's testimony.
Okay, all right, so with that, it is 8:02. I am gonna declare the public hearing reopened. And again, we now will hear from applicant, city planner, and for Mr. Davenport to provide some additional information about the open space.
Okay, this is Mike Davenport. Everything shown on this drawing in the light green under the city's regulations counts as open space. The way it's worded in the definition for open space is that if you don't have a building on top of it and you're not using it for vehicles such as either parking spaces or driveways, that land will count as part of the open space requirement, that counts as open space requirement under the definition of the city regulations. And the green area represents slightly more than 50% of the property, and 50% is the standard in the regulations.
So is it brown and green you're talking about, or is it just that green in front of each house?
If you see, there is green in front of each pair of the duplexes. There is green between the duplex units. There is green to the north of the units. At least on my screen, it's a light green color. It might be a different color on your screen.
Okay.
All of that to the north, to the south, and between the buildings, under the code definition, qualifies as open space.
Okay.
You think a resident would consider it open space? What is personal opinion?
That's not a question we can ask.
Well, I mean, I keep on hearing this, that's not open space.
We'll have to go back into for our discussion. Is there any more clarification we want to get from Mr. Davenport? All right, it is now 8:05.
Hold on,
and-
Mayor.
Yes, Carmen?
Sorry, just before you close, Ms. Wheelock, do you have anything you want to say in response to anything Mr. Davenport just said?
Thank you. I think Mike kind of said it pretty well, although I wanted to make sure you were able to see the illustration I was trying to circle and kind of notate where we were looking at, where we were looking at reseeding and also preserving existing hillside, no disturbance areas. So this is an urban solution. It's townhomes essentially. So it is different than some of the yards that you may be used to, but actually not uncommon, I think, to Virginia Street. So hopefully you can see everything there. We have exceeded the 50% requirement for open space. So thank you.
Thank you, Molly. Okay, any other clarification that we want to ask for?
So, the developer's gonna pay for the upgrade of the water and sewer lines?
I'm sorry?
The developer is gonna,
Yes, the development will be responsible to,
for upgrade the sewer, water and
Correct,
sewer,
yes.
and repair the streets?
yes.
After, okay. Okay. That's all I have.
Okay, it is 8:07, and we will now close our public hearing, and we will now go back to more council discussion.
I just want to take the other side on this, and John, I'm glad that you asked for that screenshot, because I think it's really important that we get all the information we need to make the decision, and that was something that, I wasn't quite sure with that green space, so I'm glad we went back to it. And I think some of the smartest people I've ever known in my life testified today. And so this is very difficult, I think, for council. But we need, as a city, to change some codes so that this does not ever happen again. But right now, I believe we're faced with the fact that the applicant has met the requirements. And I just personally, I don't see how we have any legal levers to throw more roadblocks or more hoops in front of the applicant after they have complied. As difficult as this is, and I take every word that Art said to heart, but the applicant has met the requirement, and that's the bar they must get over.
I tend to disagree with you. I mean, as far as what you said is absolutely correct, Chuck, and I respect you very dearly. I think as a city council, it's our obligation to go beyond codes. It's our obligation to do what's great and better for this city as a whole. And no matter, even though it's just 8 units, it affects the city as a whole. That's my opinion. It certainly affects that residential area, but I think it affects us as well. So I think codes and ordinances are good if they're well written. We've got many that are well written. We kind of agree on this one because of the shade study and what have you. It's not, but we still have to take into consideration whether a shade study was done or not. That is a very tricky area. It's very icy, and we're going to put more people there and more cars there. As far as that green area, I'll tell you, my children are all grown, obviously, but I would hate to see my children have to play on a driveway between 2 houses and say, hey, by code, that's green, so don't enjoy it. That's your little playground. So I think it's our obligation to go beyond. We have to think about the residents, we have to think about the city, we have to think about the environment, and we have to think about the quality of life here. And we have to think about the design of those townhouses. I can drop a pin and you'll see that same townhouse in Thornton and Westminster and Castle Rock, wherever you want to go. I don't think it fits our environment in that manner as well. I'm done. Sorry, guys.
Anybody else like to speak up?
If I remember right, years ago, when 6th Street curve, the city looked at, Rob, I don't know if you remember, redoing something, but the town didn't own the properties to change that. So that's, they're asking the city to do something, but we, it's hard to do when we don't own the property. Right away.
No, it's what, bringing Wall Street on the,
Yeah,
on the
curve, yeah.
on the curve.
I think
heard
that was, I think if I remember that was the
Bob,
problem.
you remember that, Bob?
I don't.
No,
I don't know. Yeah, that was years ago.
the fix of that steep section
Yeah.
coming off the
Yeah.
wall.
Yeah.
Actually,
It's been a discussion off and on for years, but I
Sure.
remember that one.
So anyways, on that, so.
So I guess I'll speak last. Go ahead,
no,
Jim.
go ahead. No, sorry. You're good.
No?
I'd like to
Go ahead.
say what Chuck said, it's a very hard decision. I mean, listening to the citizens in that area and the need for habitat, I mean, we need to listen to both sides. It's very hard.
It is true, yeah, the young lady that bought the house up above there, where what street is that?
Wall Street.
No, not Wall, but there's one right behind there. On that, where that retaining wall actually holds up their driveway. There's 2 homes back there on that road.
I thought that was Wall Street.
That's also Wall Street.
Oh, is that also Wall? Okay, I'm sorry, I apologize.
But the east side of Wall Street.
Right. So basically they said in here that, well, they'll build to 35 feet, which will be the same level as where they're at now. Now, I'm not sure that's fair to those particular neighbors as well to look into their yard, same as them looking into theirs. And as far as the studies go, I feel like the applicant took a pretty easy way out of this and just simply said, well, we're not required to, because there's nothing that says we have to. There's nothing in chapter 21 that requires any applicant to address any of the shading portions of it. They said it right here. And then as far as existing streets, they simply said, well, there's over 20% grade on this one. New ones are set to 7%. So I just feel like they took an easy way of all the of all the residents' concerns to appease this application to move forward with. I don't think it was I don't think the city, what we asked of them, they gave us back a fair shake to be satisfactory. That's all I've got.
Okay, so what I will say is, thanks, Council, for all your comments. Thank you for everybody from the public that came in tonight as well. So I've been through enough of these proposals and code expectations. We have a code that is basically our city Bible. That gives a developer a path that they have to follow down so that they know what they have to do. We can't sit around and ask somebody to do something and then all of a sudden say, oh, well, we don't want this. The shade study was not included in that. I believe it's R3 district. It was not required. So we can't go at, I think that they did something to kind of show what that shading would look like, but they were not required to do it per our code. I hear Art saying that we should look at our code and tweak it. Future councils can tweak it as much as they want. Future councils can twist and turn everything so nothing else happens in this community. But right now we have a project in front of us with a code that they followed everything on the requirements on it. And us as council have to take that into consideration. Also, I do take into consideration about the safety issues that have been voiced out here. I'm not sure about children playing in streets. And if you really want to look at dangerous, what kids are doing, they're riding skateboards down Minor Street, they're riding skateboards down the middle of Colorado Boulevard. That's dangerous, okay? Council is now tasked with making a decision on this. One thing the council does need to remember is that the applicant has performed and abided by all the required documentation and criteria that they had to follow to get a project in front of city council. So I hope as council goes into making a decision on this, that they will also think about the rights of property owners, the the entitlements of property owners, that they have entitlement to do on their property what they would like. And I can guarantee there will be more projects come to city councils in the future that are going to have the same type of thing. Whether it's blocking somebody's view, shading a street, and things like that. So I just wanted to put that out there before we go into a vote.
One thing I'd like to say on that, Mike, is I know that they've met the requirements, but they could also restrict how they build things to go beyond requirements. I think that just because they've met requirements doesn't mean that they could go a step beyond because of safety concerns or because of local concerns in that area. I mean, they could work out above and beyond those requirements.
Yes, I agree. Okay. All right, with that, I need a motion.
I move to approve resolution number 8, series 2021, a resolution conditionally approving a final development plan on property known as 1628 Virginia Street, Idaho Springs, Colorado, for a residential townhome project.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion is second. All right, last chance for discussion.
I think decision time has arrived. Been through a lot of hearings so far besides city council.
Okay, with no other discussion, can I have roll call, please?
Michael Hillman,
Yes.
Scott Pennell,
No.
Chuck Harmon,
Yes.
Bob Boland,
Yes.
John Curtis,
No.
Rebecca Bailey,
No.
Jim Clark.
No.
All right, motion does not pass. Okay. Thank you, applicants.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, we will move on. We will move on to resolution 12. Do I have a motion?
Yeah, I would move to pass resolution 12, series 2021, resolution designating a temporary handicap parking space at 220 10th Avenue.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Gives Chuck the second. Discussion. Usually, normally when somebody asks for a handicap parking place, we do usually give it to them. They're renewed annually, is that correct, Diane? So every year they have to come back for a renewal. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Michael Hillman,
Yes.
Scott Pennell,
Yes.
Chuck Harmon,
Yes.
Bob Boland,
Yes.
John Curtis,
Yes.
Rebecca Bailey.
Yes.
Jim Clark.
Yes.
Okay, we will move down to our first ordinance reading. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve ordinance number 9, 2021, ordinance of the city council defining and clarifying the duties of the city clerk after the 2021 municipal election and repealing and reenacting section 2-41 of the Idaho Springs Municipal Code.
Do I have a second? Second. And discussion?
We've discussed.
All right, with no discussion, can I have roll call, please?
Michael Hillman.
Yes.
Scott Pennell,
Yes.
Chuck Harmon.
Yes.
Bob Boland,
Yes.
John Curtis.
Yes.
Rebecca Bailey.
Yes.
Jim Clark.
Yes.
Okay, we'll move to ordinance number 10. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve ordinance number 10, series 2021, an ordinance amending section 5-1 of the Idaho Springs Municipal Code to disallow simultaneous membership on both planning commission and the city council.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. And I think we've talked about this before. I'll just make a comment that this has happened in the past. And now that the city of Idaho Springs has a lot going on, it just doesn't seem right for somebody making a recommendation sitting on a commission or board and making a recommendation to the same commission and board that you sat on doesn't make a lot of sense. I kind of always felt there was conflict of interest there, and I think this is the right time to put this into place.
And historically, we didn't have enough people applying for these positions to fill them. We had vacancies on everything.
Yeah.
And so we were happy to get a warm body. Thank you.
All right, any other discussion? Roll call?
Michael Hillman.
Yes.
Scott Pennell.
Yes.
Chuck Harmon.
Yes.
Bob Boland.
Yes.
John Curtis.
Yes.
Art Cacavelli.
Yes.
Jim Clark.
Yes.
All right, Andy's not here tonight. He did not submit a staff report. Do you have anything to share with us, Andy?
Mayor, no, I don't, but I know that Lorraine Trotter is online and available for a financial update when you're ready.
Okay. Did not know she was gonna be here, so let's go ahead and do that. Lorraine?
She and I had discussion at 4 o'clock this afternoon, and that's when she submitted her report, and I was not given notice, so it's not on the agenda.
Okay, well, we'll just do that next week or next meeting.
Oh, the 28th.
Okay. Anybody have any other questions for Andy? All right, City Clerk, Diane?
Mayor and council, I have my staff report for your review. That's fresh.
Okay, any questions for Diane? All right, Chief, you're up.
Okay, great to be here at the first meeting in person. You have the staff report, and as far as action item, there's an action item I'd like to put before council, which is the police department is looking to apply for a cops hiring grant, which is 2021 program grant being offered through the Department of Justice. Basically, the memo that I provided describes the grant. It would be for one additional police officer, and there is a 25% match that's required by the city. I did put in here specifically on its face that I don't have anything in my budget at this point in time to address that 25% match, but would ask council to consider whether or not this is something we could plan for during our budget discussions for the upcoming year. Being that I'm new here and still sort of weighing my way, learning how things go here. The other thing council could consider, this may be something we could plan for even next year, because this is a grant that is offered every year, has been for a long time. And so if this isn't the right time, I understand that as well. What this would do is this would allow us to have 4 officers the front half of the week and 4 officers in the back half of the week with the lieutenant and myself. So it would bring manpower to 10 officers. The city continues to grow and is very busy. And it also would enable us to not have to move officers to cover from one end of the week to the other. Currently with the 3 on the one end of the week, if one of them's gone, somebody on the other end of the week has to either work overtime or flex a schedule in order to cover that. So it would eliminate that. And I think that would help overall morale. So it's a 3-year grant, but the money has to be expended within a 5-year period. So there's not they do that on purpose because it may take time to get people hired. Yes.
Chief, what is the 25% match?
So the 75% is that the government would pay is basically 75% of the salary. So $38,694. The city would have to come up with $12,898 as the 25% to match the salary. So I'm sorry, I didn't specifically say it was the staff for the salary. So again, it could be something we could talk about, potentially even budget for next year, if now is not a good time to move forward. I'm here for any questions at this point.
When is this grant due?
It's due immediately. Immediately. So in fact, I give myself about a 70% chance that we're going to actually make the deadline, just because I got notification on it just last week. I was on a list to receive notifications. It's been open for about a month and a half, but it closes in the next 2 weeks. Okay, so it closes fairly quickly. But again, like I said, if council, if this is something we need to plan for during our budget talks this year and push this back, that's okay too. I understand that. Like I said, I'm still learning how the budget process works.
When does the fiscal cycle start?
Typically, the federal starts in October. So that's typically when they would either, you're notified in September and they typically starts in October. Sometimes there's delays and you don't actually see money until November. Have to enact this right away. This could be something that we can even in the middle of next year if we were to approve, if that makes any sense, to budget for that.
Okay. Oh, I would say definitely let's look at this year's budget for next year. See how we can do that. I'd also like to take a look at where your report is right now. You're in there, maybe go ahead and apply for this.
I mean, Penning Street, amazing deal.
Really good.
And in an area we
That's
need.
better than what we got John King for. We had to pay half of him.
And he was a bargain.
He needs 75% of our budget too.
The other thing, just to make, not to interrupt, but the other thing we have to consider is that city, if awarded after that 3 years, is
Required to bring them on
required to
full-time.
then for 12 months pay for that salary for that person. There is that on the end of that as well, as far as planning purposes and budgeting purposes. I just wanted to remind, put that out there.
We've done that before, years ago. I say, with council, okay with it, I want to take a look at our budget now. If not, we will definitely plan for something out in the future.
Let's request for action. So I would move to approve to apply and manage fiscal year 2021 COPS hiring program grant that is being offered through the U.S. Department of Justice.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Michael Hillman.
Yes.
Chuck Pennell.
Yes.
Chuck Harmon.
Yes.
Bob Boland.
Yes.
John Curtis.
Yes.
Rebecca Cavalli.
Yes.
Jim Clark.
Yes.
All right. You got anything else, Chief, that you'd like to discuss with us?
I don't think so, not at this point. We've had a few special events that we've been a part of, and I thought they went really well. And I just sent a message to the Rangers for August for a number of special events, all kinds of special events that are going to impact us.
Big calls for service. Big numbers there.
Yeah,
Wow.
there was definitely an increase in calls for service. I'm not sure. I would say it's maybe a reaction from the open rules as far as COVID.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Along with the chief's report, we were provided with some of our own employees, officers, and civilian workforce that received some nice awards this year. And Ryan Frost, 19 Officer of the Year. Let's see. Also Danielle Lewis, I think Citizen of the Year. Let's see. Yeah.
She was nominated for Citizen of the Year, but I gave her a life-saving commendation during the ceremony.
So to have our own employees that work for the city to be recognized like that is huge for us. So congrats to all of them. All right. Thanks, Chief. John?
Mayor and council, you have my staff report before you, and I do not have any requests for action.
Okay, any questions for John? When are they gonna be done with that construction in the parking lot?
Well, the wall was supposed to be done Sunday night.
I know, I made calls today and never got a response, so I
Their
will make
machine
another
has
call
been-
tomorrow.
Their machine has been broke down for about a week.
Oh, is that, okay.
We are going to finish, Bob Alexander is going to stripe the rest of the parking lot back there tomorrow to freshen it up. And we also are going to dig up Virginia Street at 20th, 22nd again for another water.
Oh, really? Okay. We know they're out there with that paint. I'm gonna show you the curve. We need to paint. It's kind of a problem. It's gonna
If it's
help.
not already yellow, it's not gonna be.
Do what?
If it's not already yellow, it's not gonna be.
I'll be out there. I'll pull by. All right, thanks, John. Any questions? for
Well,
John?
yeah, I had a question, John. I'm just wondering if you have any comments on how is it going with our contractor, the landscape people down at Searcy Park?
I mean, they're doing what they contracted to do.
Okay,
I mean, the park does look better. I think that we really need to look at investing sod or seeding or something in that park.
yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. It's growing in better, but it still needs a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's gonna take several seasons of overseeding that park to get it to look really good.
Well, maybe, I don't know, maybe they could come up with some recommendations that they.
They were supposed to get me a quote for either overseeding or sod for that park. But if neither one is going to be real cheap, as you know.
Oh, I'm sure.
So
That would be good. Won't happen this year, I'm sure, but, well, maybe seeding might.
yeah, we
Yeah.
can probably do that.
I don't think sod's in the budget anywhere. Okay, thanks, Joe.
Okay. Any other questions for John? All right, thanks all department heads. You're doing a great job. We appreciate you keeping our city going. Okay, Bob, history lesson time.
Oh, quick history lesson. Okay. Residing in our safe is a document, the charter for the city of Idaho Springs, Colorado. It's dated May 5th, 1874, about 2¼ years before Colorado became a state. So we're older than the state of Colorado. This is signed by Ulysses S. Grant and countersigned by his secretary, Mr. Williamson. So it's a bit of a valuable document that sets in the safe there. And I'm not handling it on purpose. Here's a copy of it. Just a matter of information. The original town site basically went from Clear Creek, Colorado Boulevard west, 105 acres. First Avenue is where 17th is now, and they gained as they went west. By the way, at 6th Avenue and Colorado Boulevard was the original graveyard. All the graves were not removed at the time, some years later. So there are, for what it's worth. Okay, Robert Griswold, who was buried at our cemetery, was president of the board of trustees at the time. And I guess that's really about it. We're an old city. We were in the Colorado Territory at the time. And a personal note, my grandfather was on the city council around the 1910 era. So our family is slow learners. But anyway, that's it.
All right.
Thanks, Bob.
I try to limit myself to 1 minute.
That's pretty cool.
Okay.
All right.
Give the citizens 3 and take 1.
Okay.
Gotta put that back.
It's nice to have everybody back in person. We will probably be working on a work session next week. So with that,
When can we let people in?
we're gonna do that on our next regular meeting, so in 2 weeks. Or what I think that we're gonna do, and I'm gonna talk more with Carmen about it and Andy about it, is require face masks to come in. And ask if we will ask the public to continue to wear the mask if they have not been vaccinated. And with that, we would also ask council, if you're not vaccinated, to wear masks while you're here as well. Okay, it is 8:32. Meeting adjourned. Thanks, everybody.